go to?
Steak and Shake, motherfucker.
Bubba Watson went to a Waffle House. Would you actually celebrate at a Waffle House, Chris Curtis?
I don't know. That's interesting.
I mean, it's a Waffle House. How good can it be?
You're gonna get fucking syrup all over your green jacket? That's just no.
It's wrong in a lot of ways. But I mean,
anyways,
I would go out for a good. I mean, you're in Atlanta. Go right. To a nice restaurant. You know how many nice restaurants there are in Atlanta?
Go do barbecue or something.
You can go get chicken and waffles at a good restaurant nowadays.
There you go.
You don't need to go to the Waffle House. I think this image that he's got portrayed is just nonsense. That's like Tiger going out after the Masters and I'm going to get some watermelon and some fried chicken.
Right.
I mean, Bubba's just living up to every stereotype there is about Bubba's. It's like, I'm going to drive my pickup to the Waffle House. I think I threw the green jacket in the back. I don't know. It's all dirty.
I got another one. It looks very similar.
It's like, asshole, you're a millionaire. Enough with the image stuff. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ.
That's funny. That's funny.
Well, whatever. Anyway, guys, I don't give a fuck about golf.
Yeah. Welcome. This is the Free Agent Sports Podcast. Doing a live show today.
Yes.
We're live again.
And we're on the precipice of the playoffs.
Yes, absolutely. There's playoffs all over the place, but we'll get started with that in a bit. Right now, we're going to talk a little bit of Major League Baseball and this whole replay bit. And it's come up that there's a lot of managers that are arguing the points that are made by replay, and there's a lot of managers being thrown out arguing replay calls as opposed to calls made by the naked eye.
John Farrell's paying money. The manager of the Red Sox has had to pay money because he complained about the replay. But the problem is there's human error when they're looking at the video.
Yeah.
These guys are looking at the video and they're not seeing the same thing that other people are seeing. So it baffles people's minds. It's like, well, how do you not see it?
Right.
But then you think back and you go, oh, yeah, the same people that watched the Rodney King beating didn't think that the police officers were guilty.
Well, I don't remember. It was a Boston and New York game last week. I don't remember who hit the double. There was a double hit into the right center field. Ball got to second, and the runner was safe at first, but he took his foot off the bag, and the glove with the ball in it was clearly on his jersey, on his body, and he was still called safe. It was challenged, and indeed it was called safe again. So that's where a lot of this started. But I think, and you guys could probably back me up on this, what a lot of people aren't realizing is that this is the first year of Major League Baseball doing replay. It's not going to be as efficient as those like the National Hockey League or the National Football League who have been doing it for years. So we just kind of need to just let the process play out to a point where it does get that efficient, and everybody needs to stop, jumping on everyone's back about getting one call wrong. I mean, it happens. It happened a lot more with the naked eye than it does now.
Overall, I think replay is going to be a plus for the league. Mm-hmm. Like you said, they need to wait for the kinks to be ironed out. I heard some moron the other day on talk radio, which is, it's mostly people are morons on talk radio. Oh, they need to shut replay down. And no, practice makes perfect. You need to keep it there, and then you need to adjust the system. Maybe get an impartial person, because you have all the umpires sitting around there. And that's why there's a replay official in the NFL. I think they need a replay umpire. I just think they need to foot the bill and get a replay umpire, some guy that sits up there, and then they can literally, the umpire can do like a signal, the way they signal to the bullpen for a manager. An umpire can do a signal for the replay, and then the guy in the replay booth can give it to him, and then they can put it up on the scoreboard what the result was. Yeah. I mean, it's literally that simple.
That'd be the easy. Baseball's making so much money right now. There's no reason why they can't do this.
Yes, baseball has got a ridiculous amount of money.
Yep.
Well, but Stephen Drew still can't get a contract.
Not for the price he wants, right?
And and neither can Kendrys Morales either.
Yep. And there's a rumor floating around about Kendry Morales that he actually turned down a 2-year extension from Seattle before he left there.
$30 million he turned down, supposedly. It's allegedly.
Right. He wanted out of Seattle for some reason. I'm not really sure why, especially with the they're going to be better. It's just a matter of when at this point. So.
Baseball in general. You got any thoughts about what's going on right now?
Well, I mean, other than the Brewers are going to get a reality check this week when they play the Cardinals, I think.
The Brewers are going to get a reality check in general. I mean, Jonah Carey wrote about it yesterday on Grantland. He was talking about how, now the Brewers, if you said the Brewers are going to win 80 games, now you can say they're going to win like 84 because they had a hot start. But that's it. I mean, that's how you adjust to this stuff. Is Carlos Gomez for real? Because if Carlos Gomez is for real and he can play these numbers out over a full season, because he's never played out, he's never been this good for a long period of time. He's been good in spurts.
How old is he?
Carlos Gomez? Off the top of my head, I'm saying 26 maybe.
Okay, so he's still young. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're all this is a young team. This is a team that's got a lot of good young talent mixed in with some decent veteran pitching.
Mm-hmm.
But he's 28 actually.
28. Okay. All right. Well,
and he's from the Dominican Republic, so he may actually be older. He may be 38, but we don't know this. And on steroids, but we don't know these things.
If Carlos Gomez can continue his hot streak and the Brewers play back to their actual ability instead of overachieving as hard as they are right now, there's a very good chance we actually could see Carlos Gomez in a different uniform come July 31st.
Well, I don't know about coming back down to, but at 28 years old, he's getting paid. He's the biggest bargain in baseball, they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they're not going to trade a guy with that low of a contract unless they're going to get a shit ton of talent for him. Because he's getting paid like $1 million a year, he's so cheap right now. So they need to keep him because, it's like having Russell Wilson on Seattle. He's a cheap quarterback, allows you to build around him. Allows them to spend money on Matt Garza and Kyle Loesch and other players that allow them to make them better. If anything, you'll see them absorb some salary and maybe trade away some of their youngsters in order to get a veteran player. That's the way you're going to get better in Major League Baseball nowadays. It's not going to be through free agency. It's tough to get better through free agency when you have guys like Jed Dryko getting contracts before they've even proven themselves.
Right.
I mean, Jed Dryko just got an extension. Everybody's getting extensions. Andrelton Simmons and the Braves just extended all of their young players. Yep. There's free agent market is going to be thin, which means Max Scherzer is just looking at a huge payday.
Oh, I know, and that's just it. I think I think this might have started with the Tigers and Miguel Cabrera, because honestly, they started negotiations and worked out this $300 million contract a year before he was due for free agency, and I think that kind of put the message in the other team's heads, like, hey, we don't want them to really go to free agency, and we might be able to get them for a bigger bargain now than we would later. So why don't we just go ahead and sign him now? And the Braves took advantage of it, and there's more teams on the way that are going to do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you? If you've got good talent, why wouldn't you lock it up, get a good manager in there, and all right, this is my team for the next 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Which is this. I think it's smart. I like the way they're doing it. It allows you to build some loyalty to the players. It allows you to do some marketing. It allows you to do a lot of things that they weren't able to do. So, I mean, and the Yankees went a different route. They don't have the young players. They locked up a bunch of veterans for a long term. And the Yankees are winning. I mean, they're on a winning track. Tanaka's pitching well. He's pitching well right now. They're up 2-0 on the Cubs right now.
Yeah.
And he's got 6 strikeouts so far in 5 innings. He's given up 1 hit and 1 walk.
Yeah, I want to take this time real quick to give a shout out to Wandy Rodriguez for completely fucking my Yahoo Fantasy League.
Well, I'm sure you're not the first person Wandy Rodriguez has screwed in fantasy sports.
So have a nice time in free agency, Wandy. I went ahead and dropped you, and I hope you find a deal with somebody I face very, very soon.
Well, I mean, you're relying on Wandy Rodriguez. He's never been a good pitcher.
Relying on him, no, but when I'm not relying on him and he still fucks things up, there you go. So there's the door. Don't let it hit you. But yeah, so that in on baseball?
Just that the Reds are up 3-0 on the Pirates in the bottom of the 8th.
Okay.
We'll have a score update. The Orioles are up 3-0 on the Rays.
Yeah, we'll have a score update at the end of the show, just recapping everything that's going on live and everything that has already gone final. So we'll have that for you. But
dang that Carlos Gomez. I had him in my fantasy team and I traded him for Kimbrel, and now I just want both of them. I'm just greedy. There should have been a way for me to keep Kimbrel and Gomez at the same time, but I wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, good luck with that. But let's move over from the diamond to the hardwood for a bit and talk a little bit of NBA playoffs. And there's a page on...
We can't talk about the playoffs because we don't know who's playing who yet.
Well, and that's just it. Playoff seeding is going to be the majority of this conversation. And there's a page on NBA.com that goes over all of the scenarios for every team that could possibly get into any seed in the Eastern and Western conferences. And it's a mess going into the final day of the season.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
That's pretty much an accurate appraisal of the situation, sir.
It's organized chaos. That's the best way I can possibly put it. I mean, the 6th seed, Washington, Charlotte, or Brooklyn can each get into the 6th seed, depending on what happens tonight in the East. You know, that in itself just makes for a crazy last day of the season. And the 6th seed is either going to play Chicago or Toronto.
The 4 or 5 is going to play. Yeah, it's Chicago. They're all bouncing around. You don't know who's going to end up playing who.
No idea at all.
And you know Brooklyn doesn't want it. Nobody wants to play Brooklyn or Chicago. Because both of in a weird scenario, we could literally end up with Brooklyn and Chicago in the Eastern Conference Finals. Brooklyn is capable. If Brooklyn plays Miami in one side and Chicago plays Indiana on the other side, you could legitimately, both of those teams could beat the top 2 seeds. That's a legit matchup. And Washington can legitimately beat Indiana. I think Indiana's really crippled right now. I think Indiana's got issues. They don't have any scoring, and like I said last week, they have point guard issues.
Mm-hmm.
George Hill, I'm sorry, you're just not a good point guard. Not
exactly.
For that
they have not had good guard play at all this year, and that's a topic that's been brought up on many different media platforms.
Well, the point guard situation, and then Lance Stevenson thinking he can take over when he's not quite ready to take over.
It's like I said a couple weeks ago. It takes an act of Congress to get the ball out of his hands. So
I don't even think he listens to Congress. It just takes a decree from Larry Bird to get the ball out of his hands. Larry needs to send it in writing.
Right.
Send it down there with
pass the ball, signed Larry Bird.
Yeah, please pass the ball. Don't throw up any more weird
I think
shots.
Larry Bird's getting paid too much for a please. What do you think?
You think Larry Bird's getting paid for what?
You get paid too much for a please. I think it's just pass the ball.
Yeah, that's true. Pass the ball, motherfucker.
There you go. That sounds a little better.
Yeah, Larry Bird was never the please and thank you guy. He was the guy that shot the ball and told you didn't belong in the league. You can't guard me. 3. What are you still doing here? 3. Are you still here? 3. Thought I told you to leave. 3.
The only 3 seeds right now in the Eastern Conference that are locked up are the 1, 2, and the 8. That's Indiana locked into the 1, Miami in the 2, and then the 8's locked up by Atlanta. So either way, it's Indiana and Atlanta going head-to-head in that matchup. So that there is the only solidified matchup, except for the 4-5 is solidified in the West as well. That's Houston and Portland, and that's going to be a good series to watch as well.
That should be interesting. I mean, Dwight Howard, LaMarcus Aldridge down low, Lillard and James Harden going at each other. That should be fun.
Yep.
Chandler Parsons and Batum. Yeah, that's going to be a fun series to watch. Give me a prediction since we know what the matchup's going to be.
Well, for the 1-8 in the East, I'm going to take Indiana. I'm going to take that in probably 5 games. I think the first game will be a bit of a shocker for Indiana. I think Atlanta actually will win the first game.
I actually think Indiana crushes them 4 games to nothing, and then everybody overhypes Indiana and says, "Oh, they fixed all their problems." And the situation is just nobody on Atlanta is good enough to beat Indiana even on their worst day.
Right. I think the Indiana's in for a bit of a wake-up call game 1. I think Atlanta does beat them in game 1, and then the Pacers rattle off 4 straight after that. Just kind of it'll serve as a wake-up call for.
I'll give you 5 games. I just think it won't be them stealing game 1 in Indiana. I think they'll just take the first game in Atlanta.
Okay.
But I just don't think they're gonna be able to win in Indiana. That's on the road. It's really hard in the playoffs to win.
Yep.
And Atlanta's just not a good team. They don't have a good enough bench to keep up with Indiana's. Indiana's bench is pretty bad right now too with Evan Turner. God, he turned out to be a bigger disaster. When he got away from Philly in that wide open offense and that everybody went, oh, yeah, this is the Evan Turner we remember. This is the guy that, oh, yeah, that can't shoot a jump shot consistently and doesn't understand how to, put a good pass. Bob Voulgaris was watching the game on Twitter. He was watching the passing that Evan Turner said, and they asked the question, whoever said Evan Turner was a good passer? I've heard this, but he just doesn't look like a good passer. He's just not that good a basketball player. He was a number 2 pick, and he's just a disaster of a basketball player.
Yep, I didn't like that move from the get-go with Indiana when they got him for Danny Granger.
Granger's hurt in the Clippers, so Granger's a non-entity too. Again, we talked about chemistry, and I think when you start losing, you lose your chemistry. I don't think you lose your chemistry and then you start losing.
I just think they would have been better off keeping Granger, though, to be completely honest.
I think they would have been better off trading for someone else, not Evan Turner.
Okay.
I think they should have put a package together. If you're going to steal someone from the Sixers, they should have stole Thad Young.
Yeah.
That's who they should have stole.
Yeah, that's
if you wanted a guy that can come in and score and stretch the floor and shoot and do all the other stuff, they should have taken Thad Young, not Evan Turner from that team. Thad Young was the only Sixer, outside of Michael Carter-Williams that was any good.
Whoa, mic volume there.
Yeah, we're good now.
Okay.
I got it.
I'm still hearing an echo on my side. You guys are really loud.
There's an echo in the room.
There we go. I had to take LG down a bit.
Can you hear me now?
Move away from the mic a bit.
Okay. How about that?
Better, much better.
All right. Then I'll stay away from the microphone.
Yeah, it got a little bit rumbly there.
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, if anybody's watching.
Yeah. Oh, now you're still really bad. What the hell happened to your mic?
I don't know. I didn't say a word. I didn't do anything. Smarge, my producer.
Yeah, I'm just making a few adjustments, Chris.
On the dials today.
Yeah.
Was Joe Smarge.
How's it now, Chris? How's LJ saying?
Talk.
Hello, LJ. How are you? LJ is
still,
good. How are you?
Still a little bit weird, but I guess we'll just have to roll with it.
Roll with it, baby.
Anyway, before we get too far off track, let's move over to. What's that?
I said, are we back?
Yeah, we're back.
Yes, back.
Much better.
Okay.
The Western Conference, the only matchup that's really locked in is the 4-5. It's Houston and Portland. Houston will have the home court advantage in that, and I see max a 6-game series here.
Seven games in a blistering 7-game series. These two teams beat each other down. This is going to be a back and forth. James Harden gets to the line 97 times. And it's going to be sick. Lillard and Harden both hate playing defense. So they're literally both just going to be jacking things up. This should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think Houston will win this one in 6 games. I think Portland has been really bad over probably the last.
Yeah, they've had a bad last month or two.
Yeah,
I'll grant you that. They were definitely better earlier in the season, but like the Brewers, they've regressed some, and they were going to regress back to some. Especially Aldridge missed some time. A couple of guys were limping around. Wes Matthews hasn't been who everybody thought Wes Matthews could be.
Right.
They've had a few issues here and there. But, they're getting into the playoffs. Again, 7-game series, matchups. So, when you go over it, you go over the matchups. Aldridge is going to is going to be down low with Terrence Ross and Lopez and Dwight Howard and everything else. So, it's an interesting matchup. Aldridge and Howard cancel each other out, and Ross and Lopez cancel each other out.
Right.
So then you go out to the wings, and it's Chandler Parsons and Nick Batum. Okay, those two guys, both of them bring their own type of game to the game.
Yeah.
Parsons is more of a scorer, a freer, and Batum is a kind of a rebounds, 12 points, 10 boards, 7 assists type of guy.
Okay.
So again, matchups. Who's got the better matchups? Where can it be exploited? And I think Harden's better than Lillard, and that's why Houston wins.
Okay.
That's my take.
Yeah,
that's the only take I can give you because we don't have any matchups.
Right.
Friggin' NBA.
Right. Yeah,
What
well,
a
I mean,
disaster this season's been. That what's his name? Zach Lowe was interviewing R.C. Buford, the Spurs GM, and he was asking him, "Is it time to seriously consider realignment in the NBA? We've had 15 years of the Western Conference just being much better than the Eastern Conference.
Head and shoulders, right?
Head and shoulders. There's just, I mean, well, he was saying there's a 50-win team that's not going to make the playoffs, and there's a 35-win team that's going to make the playoffs in the East. And he said that's a disaster. He said that's a disaster in the draft because that 35-win team belongs in the lottery, and instead you're putting a 50-win team in the lottery.
Right.
So I mean, what was it? No, a 47-win team. Phoenix is in the lottery. Okay, and now the Knicks are, and Atlanta's a 37-win team, and then we have a 42-win team, a 43-win team, a 44-win team.
If there was ever
all of them in the
that
playoffs
was ready for a realignment, it'd be the NBA.
All right. So where are we putting people?
As well, I think they should go do what baseball does to a point, just without the series thing. I think they should split them up into two different kinds of leagues, and I realize it'll create some geographic differences, but at the same time, I think it'll I think ultimately a drastic overhaul of the conferences just to make it competitive again. Because I mean, the Eastern Conference was nowhere near as competitive as it should have been.
Well, I mean, nowadays with travel being, with all of them having private planes, they don't all need to stay in the Central. They could actually move some teams around and kind of create a different type of league. You need to move some teams. Maybe okay, I'll trade Minnesota for Milwaukee. How's that?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
There you go. Okay, move Minnesota, move Milwaukee. So then Minnesota has a better chance in the Central than they do in the Northwest. And then you can take, take one of the Texas teams.
Yep.
Houston,
Take
San
maybe
Antonio, or Dallas.
Yep.
And move them over and
take Indiana.
And oh wow, moving Indiana? No, we can't. We're not going to cripple them. We can't move Indiana. We have to dump one of the bad teams. Detroit's in the house. Bye, Detroit.
Moving Detroit out west wouldn't make geographic sense.
We're moving them to the southwest. So I mean, they're going to play. They're going to play in the same division with San Antonio, Houston, Memphis, and New Orleans.
Okay, that's not too bad.
No, that's not bad at all. See, you should let LJ be the guy that does realignment.
Yeah, I just think if they go route like baseball and just make two different kinds of leagues.
But I think if you move Dallas and Minnesota and you move Detroit and Milwaukee, you could Indiana, Chicago, Minnesota, and Dallas in the Central Division, along with Cleveland. That's a much better division.
Yeah,
that's a pretty sick division.
Yeah,
I'm ready for it.
That'd be pretty awesome.
I'm ready for it. See, let's get on this, Adam Silver.
Yeah, I think there's such a disparity between the conferences. You have to try to do something because honestly, regular season NBA basketball is just it's a nap waiting to happen for the most part. There's the select few Western Conference matchups that show up, or the couple of really good East teams that show up in a Western Conference stadium your arena that play really good basketball. They play well together, but you look at all the nobody wants to watch a Philly at Milwaukee. You know what I mean?
No, I would never want to watch. I'm a Sixers fan, and I don't even want to watch Philly and Milwaukee.
Right. And that's all you need to know. It's that there's got to be something done because at this point it's a bore. It really is. Nobody ever wants to go to regular season Pistons games either.
Why would you?
So exactly.
I mean, I had my housemate is a lifelong Celtics fan. Has Pierce jerseys and everything else, and every year, like 3 times a year, he'll go to he'll 3-4 times a year he'll go out and watch a Celtics game. I go, you didn't go to a Celtics game this year. He goes, I'm not giving them my money. They're tanking. Why do I even care about them? I don't want to give them a dime this year. And so he didn't go to one Celtics game. He's already been to a Red Sox game. When you put a winner on the field, you're able to get some fans to go to your games.
Yep.
When you don't put winners on the court, you're not going to get fans to go to the game. It's just that simple.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Now
little NBA note. Apparently, Scott Perry and Grant Hill are apparently two candidates that are showing up for the Detroit Pistons GM job. Something that showed up on Bleacher Report earlier today. And haven't we had enough of former Pistons taking over the Pistons front office?
I got to ask you, does Grant Hill know advanced stats? And does Grant Hill, has he tutored under anybody? Has he, because Steve Kerr was a good GM because he tutored under R.C. Buford and Sam Presti. Of those
two, I would want Perry. Just because of the fact that Perry, he does have the experience. He was with the Pistons from 2000, left in 01, came back and was here through all of the really good years and then the really bad years. So he saw what was going on.
I wouldn't want him either. Isn't there another guy out there that they can steal from one of these good franchises?
Well, there's plenty of names that are going to be available. It's going to be a long search, but those are just the two initial candidates that have shown up for that job. From what I'm seeing, I mean, Tom Gores, the owner, has come out and say this is going to be a long search. So, and that's basically, that tells me that these are just two in a long line of people that are going to be interviewing for this job. And then what I want to see them, whoever gets picked at the front office needs to be the one to handpick the next coach.
Yeah, you can't bring in a coach before you bring in a GM.
Right.
They need to be they need to work together. And you can't bring in a coach and then bring in a GM and go, okay, here you go. You two are married now. It just won't work.
It doesn't work that way. So that's it as far as the Pistons go.
Would you buy the Milwaukee Bucks for $550 million?
Would I buy the Milwaukee Bucks for $550 million? That's
what they're being sold for, $550 million, and you get Larry Sanders.
That's about it.
Larry Sanders and his pot-smoking, pit bull loving, getting fight. It's a nightclub. You're basically buying a disaster. These guys are buying a disaster. A profitable disaster because the NBA makes all their teams profitable, but still a disaster. And they're not moving them to Seattle, which is where they should be. There really needs to be a team in Seattle again. That's a crying shame.
Yep. Yeah, it really is. I think the only team that was thought to go there was the Kings last year, but they ended up finding a Sacramento ownership group that kept them there, which it really is a crying shame because they need a team there. I didn't like it when the Sonics left for OKC, and I don't like it now that there's not a team put back there.
Just imagine how great Seattle would have been to have Kevin Durant. They would have not had to. They wouldn't have been cheap. So they would have kept James Harden along with Serge Ibaka.
Right.
They would have built a legit team because Seattle supports their teams. They would have had money. There would have been a local TV contract. Seattle just has more money in general.
Right.
And they would have put a better product on the court. And whatever. It's all that what if shit.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds about right. But yeah, it's the NBA. It's going to be a fun night to watch, just to see where everybody ends up. And SportsCenter is going to devote 45 minutes of their hour broadcast to it.
Of course they are. They won't devote, and it's the NHL playoffs start tonight, and the NBA is going to still get top billing.
Oh yeah, well that's because they'll give Barry Melrose a 3-minute spot just to talk about hockey.
Barry Melrose and his gray mullet.
Yep. Yeah, and
his Canadian accent.
Hockey is going to be very interesting over the next couple of days. We got with the playoffs starting, and I'm going to give kudos to the NHL here as we switch topics here. The NHL with their realignment has really redone the way that the playoffs were done as far as seeding, and it's going to make for some fantastic matchups. There is not one sweep, I don't think, in the entire first round set of matches or set of matchups.
Except for Pittsburgh going to be sweeping the Blue Jackets of Columbus.
That's the only one that might end up in a sweep, and my gut's telling me that's not going to end up in a sweep either.
It's just tough to beat a team 4 games in a row. I mean, let's be honest now. It's just a tough thing to do. You're really eventually going to make some mistakes. The puck's going to bounce the wrong way. Something's going to happen unless your skill level is that much better than the next team's skill level. And nowadays, with salary caps the way they are, the skill level of players has been spread out amongst the the teams. There's not one team with an overwhelming amount of good players.
Right. There's a bracket challenge. If you guys haven't checked it out, you can get your picks in by 7:00 tonight and have them still count. It's for prizes and things like that. It's on NHL.com. It's the bracket challenge, and basically it's kind of like what they did with the NCAA, but on a much smaller scale. And every matchup looks very, very. There's not a series in these matchups that are going to go less than 5 games. There's no doubt about that. I think in my mind, and you start off tonight with Montreal and Tampa Bay, and then Columbus and Pittsburgh, and then Dallas and Anaheim. It's going to make for some fun hockey. One matchup that we touched on last week, which was actually kind of a misgiving, was that we thought that the Blues were going to stick where they were and play Minnesota in the first round. Well, that is not the case. They will now play Chicago.
The defending Stanley Cup champions, Chicago Blackhawks.
But if there was ever a time to catch Chicago, it's now.
Oh, not the defending. They're 2 years ago for the Bruins won last year. No, they didn't.
They lost to Chicago.
They lost to Chicago.
Yep.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Chicago is beat up, and so is St. Louis. And St. Louis just lost a 3-0 game to Detroit on Saturday, and did not look particularly good. They lost Oshie in the game before that to a really bad hit by Mike Rupp from Minnesota, and that's going to hurt them. I don't know how long. He doesn't know how long he's going to be out. They were asking. He got hit so hard. They were asking him. It's the playoffs. Are you good to go? And he's like, what do you mean? Playoffs are 3 months away.
That's a concussion.
He got lit up hard, and you immediately saw a suspension coming from that hit. But yeah, it's going to be playoff hockey is here. Get yourself buckled up, grab a cold one. It's going to be all over the place, and it's always fun to watch.
Well, luckily I get to watch the best team locally.
Yeah, I got my Bruins hat. I went out the other day and bought a Bruins hat, so I'm all set.
According to the odds makers, Tuukka Rask and the Bruins are the odds-on favorite to win the Cup.
Yep. Yeah, well, I mean, they're the President's Trophy winners. They've got the best record in the league, so they should be the odds-on favorite to win the Cup. But that's another matchup I want to touch on real quick, is that if there was ever a team that could beat them in these playoffs in the East, then it's Detroit. And there's been plenty of people out there that have come in and said that. Basically, I don't think, and there's a lot of people that would agree with me, that Boston is ready for the type of game that Detroit plays. They play a speed game. Basically, Darren Helm, Gustav Nyquist, if there's a loose puck, these two are going to go get it. They've done it before. Then the Wings beat Boston 3 out of 4 times this year. So,
but what was going on with the Bruins at the time?
The same thing that was. If there was injuries, it was the same thing that was going on with the Red Wings. The Detroit's had a majority of their Grand Rapids AHL roster up with the big club for most of the year because of injuries. They still.
Well, they beat the Bruins at the beginning of the season, and twice. So no, they lost to them once at the beginning of the season and beat them at the beginning of the season. Then they didn't play them again for months.
Right.
And then where are they? And then they played and then they lost. Then they beat the Bruins in April when the game didn't matter to the Bruins. The Bruins just didn't care at that point. They had everything had been decided already, so they didn't care at that point. So they had 2 wins, one at the beginning of the season, one at the end of the season.
We'll see. It's going to be a fun series.
No doubt, Chris. Certainly, I think Detroit's a faster team, and they do in terms of sort of speed and skating. Are better than the Bruins, but can they keep that up over a series with the Bruins beating on them relentlessly? It's one thing to play a home-and-home game against a team, with a day in between and stuff. And there's breaks in the schedule too in the playoffs, but you have to play a full series against these guys. And the Bruins will be relentless in abusing these guys.
And Jimmy Howard's just probably not going to be up to winning a whole series.
Yeah, well, and that's the key for Boston. Yeah. Just Margie hit it right on the head. Boston needs to be physical. Use Chara and and a whole bunch of their other big guys and beat down the Wings, because if they don't, then they let Detroit run where they want to. It could definitely be interesting. That's for sure.
Are the
Boston's
Bruins
definitely more
healthy?
physical.
I don't know what's going on with
Well,
the
Dennis Seidenberg was announced that he would be out for the entirety of the playoffs. I forgot what his exact injury was, but that is fairly significant in terms of depth for the Bruins. Other than that, I believe they're fairly healthy. I don't think there are any other major injury concerns with the team they have. So,
And they do have the overall best player both ends of the ice, Patrice Bergeron.
yep.
Okay.
I mean, he's not the best scorer, but he's a combination of everything. He's the best player on the ice, from what everybody's been babbling about.
Yep.
And don't they have one of the best defenders in all of hockey, in Zdeno Chara?
Yep. It's hard to believe that actually 3 teams passed on him, and he was traded twice too.
Well, too tall.
But
6'9", 255 pounds. Jesus, that's a big person.
yeah, how do you miss him, right? But yeah, no, it'll be a fun series. I mean, as far as Detroit's health goes, I mean they're without Zetterberg right now, but he's back to skating. He actually might be back for probably game 2 or game 3, is what they're saying. So other than that, Detroit for the most part is healthy, except for Stephen Weiss, who's been out for a majority of the season. He's done for the year. So, but it's gonna be fun with. If there is a team that can beat Boston, I think if Boston gets past Detroit, I think they've got the Eastern Conference wrapped up.
Who wins, Philly or the Rangers?
Philly and the Rangers is going to be a fantastic series. Both teams absolutely despise each other. It's going to make for awesome TV. You get a chance to watch it.
Yeah, that'll be a bloody series too. They're gonna
It's on tomorrow night on CNBC at 7 o'clock. Philly and the Rangers. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch. I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's going to be probably a 7-game series. That was one of them I picked to go 7. I picked Philly in it.
Now, the Sharks and the Kings. Who's better there?
Ducks and the Kings. I think the Ducks have it. I think the Ducks are the best team in the Western Conference.
The Sharks.
San Jose. Yeah.
Ducks.
Sharks
I'm sorry.
And the Kings. Sharks.
Sharks and Kings. Sharks and Kings. I'm still going to take San Jose. I'm not a King follower this year. As far as I don't think they're going to be as good.
You're not sold
as,
on Jonathan Quick being able to lead them to the promised land again?
Not the way he did in 2010. No. Just because first of all he's a couple of years older, and second of all they don't have the pieces in front of him like they did before. I think ultimately it's going to come down to he's going to have to stand on his head to let them have a chance.
But aren't the Kings built to win in the playoffs?
And they usually do, but I still don't think they have it. I don't think they get past. If they get past the first round, they won't get past the second round. I just don't see it in the Kings this year. They didn't really have that killer instinct, and they really were.
They don't score a lot. The Kings.
What's that?
The Kings have trouble scoring. Putting the puck in the net. They have trouble putting the biscuit in the basket.
And the Sharks are a decent defensive team too.
And the Sharks have a dynamic group of scorers with Thornton and they got a good team.
Yeah, they do. So that's gonna make for some interesting.
The Kings might have some issues. It's gonna come down to goaltending, just like it always does.
Yep. Absolutely.
God, the NHL.com. If you're not looking at it, ladies and gentlemen, go on there. You can get excellent NHL coverage.
Which site was that?
The NHL.com site.
Oh yeah.
Usually, the NBA.com site is, other than David Aldridge, is kind of butt.
Right.
I don't think is all that good. And MLB site is just a propaganda piece for Major League Baseball. You don't get anybody criticizing anyone on that site.
Right.
And I like the NHL the way they set this site up. I like it.
Yep.
And I like
the NHL's on their way up as long as they can stay out of lockout issues. These playoffs. The way they did it with the scheduling is fantastic. Fantastic. The other series to watch in the Western Conference, real quick, before we jump off of it, is Minnesota and Colorado. That's going to be
the
a
Avalanche.
good series.
I haven't talked about the Avalanche in forever. Are they any good?
Yep. Yeah, both of those teams. That one's going to be a slugfest. I think. Patrick Waugh, new coach for Minnesota.
Patrick Waugh, he played for the Avalanche.
Yes, he did.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Yep. So yeah, the Wild and the Avs are going to go at it. That's going to be a fun series to watch. And the Wild again are my sleeper team out of that Western Conference because
they swept they only won one game against Colorado during the season, right? No, let's see. They won 2 games against Colorado this year.
Yeah. Well, either way, Minnesota's been playing some really good hockey of late, which is what I was getting at. So I think ultimately, that's what it's going to come down to is just catching. Avalanche may have caught the wrong team at the wrong time. So yeah.
And then what else? What do we got going on now? We have a final in baseball. You want to go there?
Yeah, let's actually we'll go ahead and jump into a score update if nobody has anything else hockey-wise.
Sounds good, Chris. Take it away.
All right, sounds good. This score update will get you caught up on everything going on tonight in hockey first, since we're on that. We'll start in Tampa Bay, 7 o'clock tonight. Montreal and Tampa Bay get going on their series. The Pittsburgh Penguins play host to the Columbus Blue Jackets at 7:30. And then Dallas goes to Anaheim. That's the late game in the NHL playoffs. So that's it. That's what's going on tonight. Jump over real quick to the NBA as well. As soon as Yahoo decides to do what it wants, here it is. And the whole slate of scheduling or scheduled games going on tonight in the NBA and the last day of the regular season. Pacers and Magic get going at 7 in Orlando. Bobcats play host to the Bulls in Charlotte. Pelicans are in New Orleans against the Houston Rockets at 8 o'clock. Hawks travel to Milwaukee for an easy win at 8 o'clock. The Jazz are in Minnesota to play the T-Wolves at 8 o'clock. Lakers and Spurs at 8 in San Antonio. Pistons travel for a loss to the Thunder at 8 o'clock. The Mavericks go to Memphis to play the Grizzlies, who are actually still looking to improve their seeding. That's at 8 o'clock. The Grizzlies still have a chance to get that 7 seed, which would be pretty awesome. The Celtics and Wizards play in Boston at 8 o'clock. Cavs and Nets at 8 as well in Cleveland. Sixers and Heat at 8. Raptors and Knicks at 8. And then the late games going on. Trailblazers, Clippers in Portland.
I want to interrupt one quick thing.
Sure.
Philly opened the season with a win against the Heat. They could literally close the season with a win against the Heat because the Heat probably aren't going to start anybody of any importance tonight.
Yeah.
That's hysterical.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a scheduling thing. I don't know. Could be interesting, though, that's for sure. But and it's funny because every time we talked about the Sixers in the beginning of the season, we wanted to anoint them kings of everything for beating the Miami Heat in the first game.
I didn't anoint them anything. I thought it was. I thought it was hysterical that they came out and they actually showed that they got a little. They had a little chutzpah at the beginning of the season with their crazy run and gun offense.
Right.
But I mean, of course, that was going to fall apart. But
right.
It was fun while it lasted.
Absolutely.
And they show that they've got a little potential with Michael Carter-Williams, but that team is still 4 or 5 years away from being a legit contender.
Yes, absolutely. And then last 3 games, Clippers and Trailblazers at 10:30. That's one of the late ones in Portland. Kings play host to the Suns at 10:30, and then the Nuggets play host to Golden State. Jumping over to the Diamond real quick, as it was mentioned, we've got a couple finals already. We'll get to those. We've got one final and then a postponement. Reds beat the Pirates, and that's Cueto with the win on that one. Liriano gets the loss 4-0. Cincinnati beats Pittsburgh there, and then
Cueto's having a good start to the season.
Yes, he is. He's got an ERA sub-2 right now,
and he struck out 12 today.
Yep,
3 hits. A complete game.
If this gives you any indication on Cincy's season, though, he's 1-2 with an ERA less than 2.
Since he hasn't been hitting the ball.
Right. Yep.
And then the Twins and
in the Blue Jays
department. And that's what happens when you have Billy Hamilton as your leadoff hitter.
Oh, I know. He literally got me fantasy points today by walking, stealing a base, and then scoring a run.
Well, today when they won, he got on base twice and had 2 stolen bases.
Yep.
And then Votto picked him up. And then literally, then this guy Pena, whoever the hell he was, knocked in a guy. But that's it. Hamilton and Votto. And then the 3-4 hitters did nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other postponement going on is the Twins and the Blue Jays at Target Field. That game has been postponed. No date has been announced for the makeup. And then the games going on right now.
What's going on in Minnesota that they needed to postpone the game?
Inclement weather, just rain. Yep. So, and in Baltimore, 3-0. Orioles lead the Rays. That's in the middle of the 8th inning.
The Rays, we didn't even touch on this, but I want to. Sorry, I'm interjecting.
No, you're good. You're good.
But the Rays basically lost their pitching staff. Alex Cobb and Mike Moore are both down with injuries. Moore's done for the season.
Yeah, he's got Tommy John surgery coming up, doesn't he?
Yeah. And Jay Goradazzi, I'm sorry, he was he was one of those pieces in the Will Myers trade. He was kind of the second piece in that Will Myers Ordazzi for James Shields trade. And Myers went 0 for 4 and struck out 3 times, and Ordazzi gave up the runs and took the loss.
Yeah.
The Rays, I don't know if they won that trade or not.
We'll see. We'll see.
It all depends on what kind of career Myers has, but
right.
Again, Myers is going to be one of those guys that they're going to have to trade away come contract time, unless they. I still think they need to move that team to Portland, but I will never get off of that bandwagon. But go ahead, back to the scores.
Anyway, the Yankees have a 3-0 lead on the Cubs at Yankee Stadium. That's in the bottom of the 7th inning. Tanaka pitched really well in this game. He's actually. I think he might still actually be in the game.
Masahiro, let's see if he's still in the game.
Yep, I think he might be. We'll get an update on that. And then the Brewers are actually giving a reality check to the Cardinals instead. They're up 4-1 in the top of the 7th. They have a man on, or the Cardinals do have a man on second, though. So they could.
Tanaka's given up 2 hits, a walk, and he struck out 8 in 7 innings so far. He's still in there.
Oh,
he's
Jesus.
at 93 for his pitch count, so they'll let him complete the game.
Yeah, I think they should. And then that Yankee game is the first half of a doubleheader. That one, the second half gets going at 7 o'clock tonight. Other games going on in the major leagues. We have the Mets traveling to Arizona. That happens at 3:40. The Phillies play host to the Braves at 7:05 tonight. Tigers and Indians get going at Comerica Park. That happens at 7:05 or 7:08. Sorry. Washington travels to Miami at 7:10. Rangers and Mariners get going at 8 o'clock in Arlington. White Sox and Red Sox at 8:10. Astros play host to the Royals at 8:10. Angels and Athletics is one of the late games at 10:05 in Anaheim, and then San Diego plays host to Colorado, and with the Giants playing host to the Dodgers, and that basically takes care of the score update. Got Mahalam pitching for the Dodgers, which is a name I haven't really seen in a while, but yeah.
Where did they dig him up?
Yeah, I don't know. The second page of the free agent list, obviously.
Yeah, somewhere. Some guy they found on the side of the street.
But
Chris, did you get a chance to read? I had posted this to you guys, and I'm not sure if you read it. Did you read the SB Nation article about being a bagman? Yeah, being a bagman for NCAA athletes. Did you get a chance to see that?
No, I did not.
Well, basically, I'll just summarize it real quick for you. The author went and interviewed with a person who is a bagman for NCAA athletes for his college. These are the people who
get the money from the boosters and drop it off with the players. And he said, basically, unless someone is there taking pictures, it's my word against their word against someone else's. It's all he said, she said. So no one ever actually gets caught because it's cash. There's nothing on the books. There's no checks being exchanged. They just literally are getting cash. And in a bold move, the NCAA said student athletes can get as many snacks and meals bought for them as they want.
I think you called it the Shabazz effect.
Yes. The Shabazz Napier effect, ladies and gentlemen. Shabazz said he was hungry, and the NCAA responded. Well, they needed to. The guy was an NCAA. He graduated. He's got a degree in sociology.
Right.
Well, you know, when Shabazz came to the UConn program, he had some issues. And him and Boatwright were having some issues. So his mom came and moved to Connecticut and said, no, my boy's going to do good. And you saw his mother in the stands during the NCAA tournament. She looked like a tough woman to deal with. And now you understand why Shabazz stayed the 4 years and did what he did. It had nothing to do with the coach, and that to do with his mom staying there looking over him going, you ain't going to steal any more laptops. You're not getting yourself in any trouble. You're going to do this, and you're going to do it right. And he got his degree, and he did everything right. So now the next guy can get a meal. Now the players next year can get a meal because of Shabazz.
Right. Yeah.
But that's probably going to lead to a lot of nonsense going on. Yeah, I paid for his meal, and he got $6,000 cash back from.
I think there's something wrong with my register.
Yeah. It's going to lead to some nonsense probably down the line.
Yeah,
but I mean, the Bagman was interesting, but that just reinforced stuff that we had already believed.
Yeah.
When they get a story like that, I mean, they've been doing that stuff for years.
Oh, that's been going on forever. But I like it. It just helps to confirm that, because all the people who support the NCAA, they would all tell you that that's all just story and innuendo.
When you go to the UConn campus, you can see the students have jobs allegedly, and they have vehicles that go along with those jobs.
Yeah, student.
And they all happen to be Jeep Grand Cherokees and other really nice SUVs that all have dealer plates on them.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
state government plates. And all of a sudden, how come Shabazz Napier is driving around in that Jeep Grand Cherokee? Well, he's got to drive over and turn on the sprinklers on the football field.
Yeah, he's got a courier job, you know. He's
Yeah.
got to go drop some stuff off.
Well, you know, but they should be getting paid. If this was all above board, we wouldn't have to make jokes about all the sleaziness.
Oh, I know.
Well,
and
even
that's exactly right.
Even this bag man in the article said that. He said, "I'd love for these guys to be getting, you know, 50 grand. They shouldn't have to come to me to get it, you know, my old TV because they don't have a TV. It's ridiculous."
Yeah.
Like, and there'd still be, you know, money under the table no matter what, no matter how much they were paying these guys.
Yeah.
But
it would
it would
less
reduce
of a-
the effect, and they could go after the illegitimate stuff a lot more effectively, I think, because there's no hypocrisy anymore. Like, we
Correct.
are paying you. You should be able to get by on 50 grand or whatever it is.
Oh,
This is
easy.
unnecessary.
I mean, hell,
Yeah.
I get by at right now. You know, not that this is anybody's business, but I get by on $8 grand a year right now,
Yeah.
and I'm a college student, so that you know, 50 grand is, oh man, I don't know what I'd do with 50
Yeah.
grand.
On 50 grand, you'd be happy.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be eating as much ramen though. You'd actually be able to afford some shrimp,
Right.
some steak.
There you
You'd be able to go out and have a good meal every now and then instead of
Right.
suffering through some SpaghettiOs.
Yeah.
SpaghettiOs and ramen.
Speaking of, I know we talked about it at the beginning, but I didn't get to ask LJ, like, where would you go? What's the crappy restaurant you would go to if you won the Super Bowl or Masters or whatever?
I'm a late night guy. Just send me to Denny's.
Denny's?
Yeah.
Denny's?
Denny's.
I mean,
Okay.
that's a late night New England thing. I mean,
Yeah.
other than or just with a crappy diner. Just send me to any crappy diner in the tri-state area.
Yeah, we got plenty
All
of
right,
those.
so I have to ask it since you mentioned Denny's and since you're from the New England area.
Yeah.
Does Denny's have decent clam chowder?
No,
Because you know they have
it's
it.
from a can. I mean, everything that Denny's does is prefab. I mean, none of it's supposed to be any good. I mean, their eggs. It's a place you go. You don't go to Denny's unless it's after 2 or before
true.
6 in the morning. You just don't go to Denny's during any other time
Anytime.
because there's always
for
better
drinks.
options after 6 and
Yeah,
before 2.
here in Western Mass, and really the Denny's chowder is probably identical to the chowder you'd get in any independent restaurant in town, unless they make their own chowder, because that's just how it works.
Chowder.
And we're like an hour away from like fresh clams. Like we can just drive down to Connecticut or the Cape or Boston and get
Right.
incredible.
Now, if
like,
you want to
great
get
clam
good chowder,
yeah.
you go to the coast in Connecticut. You go to the coast in Boston, because there they're literally just making the
Yeah.
chowder fresh.
Clams are
And you
fresh.
find a place that has a good recipe. I mean, it's pretty difficult to mess up clam chowder.
Yeah.
You're talking about some onions, some salt, some pepper, some clams, some potatoes, and some cream or milk, depending on your preference.
Sounds about right.
And don't mess it up. That's it.
All right. Yeah.
God damn it. But yes, fresh seafood comes in on the coast here, and we get it very quickly. We get it same day, off the boat and delivered in the same day.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, we need like a legal seafoods sponsorship. We need to get them on board.
I'd be in.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's do it. Or a Massey Seafood, or just the fish hook.
Come
up
on,
the
producer.
street.
Let's go.
Yeah. I'm working on it.
I mean, there's, right here in Smarge's town. I mean, the 10 minutes from here is a really good seafood restaurant.
Yeah,
really
there's
good.
a
The fish
few
hook
around here.
in
Fish
Northampton, I
hooks.
really enjoy.
Before we get too far off topic, let's go ahead and close this up. We can talk about this
I
afterwards.
can talk about food all day. I'm fat. I enjoy eating.
Come on,
I'm not-
sports and food are just so integral. You can't
Dang
go to a
right.
sporting event and not
And
eat
not
hot
go get
dogs or whatever. and
hot
not,
dogs. You,
know.
can get all sorts
Yeah, I
of
know.
crazy
The
shit at
concessions are a lot
football
better.
games now and baseball games. I mean, I see the stuff up there, and I'm like, wow, eating at a baseball game has become totally different. When I
Yeah.
was a kid, you would go to get a Yankee Frank or a
Yeah.
Fenway Frank.
It was just a hot dog and some cotton candy,
Yeah.
peanuts, and that was about it.
That
you
was
know?
and popcorn.
Yeah, popcorn, that kind of stuff.
Got
Cracker
excited
Jacks.
about that shit, and then your dad paying for beer that he didn't want to pay for.
Yeah.
So I don't want to drink this. A buddy of mine posted on Facebook. He went to a Sox game. He stacked up all his empty beer cups and goes, Wow, so that's what $300 looks like.
Yeah. That's why I go to like minor league baseball games because
you can bring a
concessions are cheaper.
flask
It's
and a
affordable,
40
yeah.
ounce
Yeah, and it's fun.
and a Subway sandwich and watch the game cheap.
That's right.
That's awesome.
But yeah, Chris, we'll sign it off here. We're definitely at the end of the show, so I want to thank
And
everyone.
we get our podcast sponsored by Subway. Everybody else does. Eat fresh, Subway.
Yeah, I don't know if they really.
I'm in Subway. Come on.
I don't know if we're the face of Subway, LJ. I don't know. If
I
that's
am
the
definitely
brand
the
that
face
they're
of
trying to
Subway. I'm a
project.
fat guy that needs
Hey,
to
we
lose
all
weight.
have great faces for radio.
Subway, come and find me. I'll be your next Jared.
Yeah, well, the beauty of that is not only do you lose weight, but you become flame retardant from eating all that bread.
And I'm less effeminate than Jared is. Jared seems a bit effeminate.
Well, that's from the bread, dude. It's all the crap in the bread.
It made him effeminate? All right, I'm out, Subway. D'Angelo's, where you at?
Good old Dangelos. But yeah, that will wrap it up for us. So thank everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, you can find us on freeagentspodcast.com. And from there, you can find our links to YouTube, Twitter, iTunes, everywhere else that you use social media. We're there. So check us out. And thanks again for
MySpace.
listening.
Masahiro
No MySpace.
Tanaka.
Tanaka!
There he is, 10 strikeouts today.